I used to love debates. I used to love apologetics. When I was in college, I loved to have discussions about politics and religion with anyone who would talk. At the time, the conversations were all new to me, and so it was less about convincing people of my opinion, as it was an act of discovery, of engaging with topics and people that I had never experienced before. There was something exciting about hearing different perspectives and expressing my own, because I was still in the process of developing my opinion. For a while, it didn't matter how basic the topic was. I enjoyed taking the time to seek the truth with others, patiently walking with them until we were both wiser than we were before. Yeah, you're right. We can't be saved by our own actions, but that doesn't mean that the corporal works of mercy are irrelevant, right? I mean, sure, Peyton Manning puts up some regular season numbers. I get that, but how are you gonna discount Tom Brady's playoff record? I mean, come on. Oh, I totally see how you'd pronounce it as GIF, but I think it makes much more sense as GIF. For a long time, I loved these sorts of conversations. Until I didn't. As I've learned more and developed as a person, I've come to develop some opinions about the world and our lives in it. For some things, the basics, you could say, I'm not so much interested in discovering anymore. I kind of did that already. Time has gone on, I've actually come to find conversations like these pretty tiresome. What was once an interesting topic to discuss, what was once a thrilling act of discovery, has become pedantic. Haven't we talked about this 1,000 times? Hasn't this question been around for hundreds of years? Why are we still discussing it? Which, in one sense, is a completely understandable response. Eventually, all of us grow tired of the same old conversations. We get tired of rehashing the same arguments over and over again. For me at least, the basics are no longer interesting. I don't claim to have all the answers, and I can't say that the great questions of humanity have all been settled. As far as I'm concerned, there are a few questions that are as settled as they're going to be. What is not so understandable, though, and actually kind of laughable if you think about it, is the fact that I now find myself becoming a bit impatient, dismissive, even condescending when topics like these come up. No, Catholics don't believe in works righteousness. We believe that we're saved by faith alone, but true faith must include works. Stop calling us heretics. What are you even talking about? Tom Brady is the GOAT. There's no more discussion needed. It's GIF. GIF is a peanut butter, not a file format. Because I, in my great wisdom and grand old age of 32, have settled my opinion on an issue, it is perfectly fine to look down my nose at those who are just beginning the act of discovery and find things interesting. As if I wasn't there nary a 10 years ago. As if I'm not going through the very same act of discovery on other things that people 10, 20 years older than me figured out a decade ago. It's an interesting phenomenon, isn't it? I'm sure we all do it from time to time. We become impatient of the fact that someone is not as advanced as we are in some field, annoyed by their questions, frustrated with their mistakes, tired of their apprehension, forgetting that there was a time not so long ago that we were in their very same position, proud of our progress and discovery, while others just ahead of us had already grown tired of such questions. It's kind of foolish, actually. There was a time when things were new to us and others patiently supported us in our newness. We should be able to do the same for others. St. Paul exhorts us to do such in his letter to the Romans. He writes, "We who are strong ought to put up with the failings of the weak and not to please ourselves. Let each of us please our neighbor for the good, for building up. We who are strong ought to put up with the failings of the weak." Other versions of the Bible translate it as infirmities, even scruples of the weak, and I really like that. St. Paul writes this immediately following a question about how to deal with those with weak consciences, those who might be new to the faith and are bothered by things that no longer bother most of us. And this is his response. Put up with them. Even though we may be far advanced in our faith and conscience now, even though the question at hand gives us no reason to even pause, we're entirely sure of our conviction and face no temptation. This is no reason to look down on those who do. No doubt there was a day not too long ago when even the basics of Christian life were difficult for us. Aren't we glad that others gave us the opportunity to grow at our own pace? Aren't we glad that we were afforded the space to simply live our faith where it was at the time so that we could get to where we are today? I met a trainer in a gym one time who drilled it into everyone that you were to never make fun of someone for lifting a light weight just because you could lift more. They're doing what they can just as we're doing what we can, and there was a time not too long ago when that was all we could lift as well. I think we could use a little bit more of that attitude in our church. A bit more patience with those who aren't exactly on our level, those who haven't figured out what we've figured out, who aren't as strong as we are. While there is always room for encouragement, and we would never want people to become complacent or apathetic, we also don't want to become too harsh either, judging and scolding them. It is too easy sometimes to look at our lives as if it were the standard, to think, well, I can do it, why can't they? And so look down at those who might still be struggling, who might not be where we are. This is not a healthy attitude for a Christian, and we must let it go. Especially now that we've just received the neophytes into the church, the newly baptized adults. It is imperative that we witness to the fact that faith is a process and that we are all at different stages. For some, everything seems new and overwhelming, and that's entirely okay. That's just where they are right now, and no one should expect them to be an expert or a saint on day one. We certainly weren't, but we were afforded the patience that we needed. This is what we must always pass on to others. Whether they are 3 days into being a Christian or 3 decades, all anyone can really be is themselves. All that they can really do is work with what they've got. Why would we expect someone to be something they're not? What good is it to become frustrated with someone because they're not where we are? If we want to be a fruitful faith community, we must learn to show more patience with those who are still on the journey. Because really, as much as we think of ourselves as advanced sometimes, aren't we right where someone else was years before? Isn't there always someone ahead of us? If we want to be afforded the patience that we need, we've got to show it to others.